notion of reading as fun, that's kind of my mission. I want to encourage you guys and girls to read 20 minutes a day. But I also want you to think of books as something that's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to make you want to turn the pages. So for me, let me go back in time just a couple days ago when I was where you were. Just a few days ago, I was in 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th grade. That's what it seems like. It seems like yesterday. And maybe it's because I remember that time so vividly in my mind that I'm able to write stories for you guys and you girls, because in my mind it's like I remember it. I remember being where you are. And when I was where you guys are, I had 2 things that I was passionate about. 2 things I love. Now, I love sports, and I played every sport I could play. I played every, not just football, basketball, and baseball. I played softball. I played rugby. I played soccer. I played volleyball. I did wrestling. I did track and field. I was a swimmer. I did everything I could possibly do because I love sports. But the sport that I really got excited about and really loved the most was football. And I'm going to be honest with you now, I like football because I like to knock people down. Now, when I say that, I have to say it with a tone of apology in my voice because I know that there's something wrong with me. I know there's something not quite right in my brain. And I call it a spring that's been wound up way too tight. Because when I say I had this, fondness for knocking people down, I mean, I would walk down the hallways in school and I would see someone coming the other way and I would just say to myself, wow, wouldn't it be just awesome if I just took my forearm and just bam, knocked them down? I mean, I would never do that. I knew that was absolutely inappropriate. You heard me tell your teachers, my mom was a teacher. I knew that you can't behave that way. You can't get into someone else's personal space, and certainly you can never knock somebody down. But I wanted to. And then I found a sport called football, where not only could I knock people down, I was supposed to knock people down. My job was to knock people down. And if I smashed them into the dirt, people cheered. And I said, oh, I love this. This is awesome. This is great. This is what I was meant to be. I was meant to be a football player. So when I was your age, I'm thinking, that's me, man. I'm going to be an NFL football player. I'm going to grow up and be a football player. Now, as much as I loved sports, and especially football, I had something else that I got just as excited about. Something that I got just as passionate about as football and knocking people around, and that was books. Books. I love books. Now, I don't mean, when I say I love books, I want to explain to you. I don't mean I was a good language arts student and got an A. I did. I don't mean I won the library contest for the person who read the most books over the summer. I did. What I mean is, when I was on the bus, going to school in the morning, I was reading a book. When I finished my lunch in the cafeteria, and there's 2 minutes before the bell rings, reading a book. When I had all my football gear on after school, and I'm sitting in the locker room, I'm waiting for coach to blow that whistle to start practice, reading a book. I love books. I love books. And while books can and will do these amazing things for you, not only weightlifting for your brain to make you smarter to do better in school, but something even more important that I'll talk about in a minute. While books can and will make you better and make your life better in some very important ways, that's not why I read books. That's not why I loved books. And that's not why I said, oh, I want to be a writer one day. I love the way books took me away to another time and another place. Books for me were magic. Just like magic. I mean, a good book was magical. Now, those of you who are readers in here today, right? And I know there are readers in here. Yeah, some of you are even raising your hand. That's awesome. I know you're saying to yourself, yeah, of course. Books are awesome. Yeah, of course he loved books. Who doesn't love books? But I also know there are those of you today, when I said, oh, I love books, you turned to your buddy and said, hey, this guy got hit in the head too many times. Right? Because if If you don't love books, you really don't love books. You're like, that's weird, that's strange, right? And if you feel that way, that's okay. That's okay. Because you are one book away from loving books. You're one book away from being a reader. Maybe it's first team, but maybe it's not. See, here's where we got to be careful, okay? Because someone may say to you, hey, wow, did you read First Team? It's awesome. You got to read it. And you might start reading it, and it might not be for you. And me, having used resources that I have to help buy the books for you along with Ms. Hatfield, I would say to you, if you read 5 chapters of this book and you don't love it, put it down. Put it down. That's okay. Don't force yourself to read a book. Don't force yourself to read a book. But I want you to go find another one. I want you to go pick up Holes, or Bud Not Buddy, or Ella Enchanted, or Maniac McGee. Those are some of my favorites. Or Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nin. Or an incredible book called Wonder. I want you to go find another book and read 5 chapters of it. And if you don't like it, it doesn't interest you, put it down. But don't stop. Because you didn't like the first 2 books, or 3 books, or 10 books you tried, does not mean you're not a reader. We're all readers. It just means it's not the right book for you. It's not the right level for you. That's okay. That's okay. Do not quit. Do not stop. Don't stop. I want you to find books that you enjoy and that you love. That's what I love to do. That's why I wanted to be a writer, so that I could create stories that kids love. And do they? Yeah, a lot of kids do. A lot of boys especially will say to me, Mr. Green, now I'll get emails on my website or messages on the Facebook page. I'll get emails, and the boys who email me, only 2 out of 10 boys who email me say, Mr. Green, I'm like you. I love books. I read all the time. Most of those boys, honestly, they apologize to me. They say, Mr. Green, I don't really like sports. I'm like, who cares? I don't care. I don't care. As much as I love sports and coaching and all that stuff and playing sports, in my house with my kids, school and reading is much more important than sports. Much more important than sports. Now, my boys, especially growing up, they're like, Dad, what are you talking about? You play in the NFL. We live in this nice home that you said you built with your contract for playing in the NFL. And I said, yeah, but you can't count on sports. You can't count on it. No matter how good you are, no matter how fast and strong and talented, you still have to be at the right place at the right time. You have to be lucky to do well in sports and to be a pro in sports. You got to be lucky. And I know this because I saw guys who were just as big as me, fast, strong, mean, worked just as hard. They didn't play in the NFL. They didn't get drafted in the 1st round or the 3rd. They never played in the NFL. I got lucky. Did I work hard? Yeah, I did. Did I have some talent? Yeah, I did. But I got lucky too. But what you create for yourself in school with your education, to be a lawyer, a teacher, a doctor, an accountant, an engineer, anything you can create with your education, that you don't need to be lucky. You just have to work hard. And it is work. So 2 out of 10 boys, I say, hey, don't worry, I'm glad you love my books. Now, 8 out of 10 boys will email me and say, Mr. Green, I never read a book before. I was supposed to read a book. I said I read a book, but I never really read a book before. But Mr. Green, either I'm an athlete, I'm a football player, I'm a basketball player, I play soccer, and they made us, I play baseball, and our teacher said we had to read a book, and so I picked yours up, or I heard you speak, and Mr. Green, I picked your book up, and you do this thing with these short chapters. And you do this thing where you end the chapter, and I just kept turning the pages, and I just kept going from chapter to chapter. And I read the whole book, Mr. Green, and it was great. That was fun. And I'm going to read more. And that makes me feel fabulous. I I love it. I love when I hear boys who are athletes who are not interested in reading pick up one of my books because they're interested in sports, and they fall in love and they become readers. Now, the girl